going to be testing and talking about the Nissan's ProPilot Assist, which is available in most of their modern cars, including my 2019 Nissan Rogue. So, if you look on top of the rear view mirror, you can see like a thick black box-looking thing. In front of that, it has a camera. So the idea behind a camera, in the most simplest terms, it's that it's going to be reading the dashes and the lines up ahead on the road. So it's going to be feeding that data into the car computer, and then the car will literally self-steer, self-brake, and self-accelerate. And then the other feature is you can set the car distances you want behind the car in front of you. So it's going to be depicted as 3 bars. Each bar essentially is a car's length. So let's say if I choose 3 bars, it's going to be, hey, all right, maintain the distance of 3 cars length behind the car that's in front of me. And once I set the speed, let's say 60 miles per hour, the car will just self-navigate. Well, the only criteria is that you have to leave your hand gently resting here. Not that it's going to be driving, but just resting it. That way, if something goes wrong, you'll have the final say. You will be the one who's in total control. So there is no self-driving car on the market right now. Right now we have a lot of assist programs, and they're made essentially just that, to assist the driver. So there are many people who says, oh yeah, well, I'm wondering why my car doesn't self-drive all the way. At the moment, there is no self-driving car that's fully autonomous. There has to be some user input. So, all right, I'm gonna set this up. Let me just get out of this curve. So to start the ProPilot Assist on a Nissan Rogue, you will hit this blue item, where my thumb is at. You press it, and if you look at the dash screen, you'll see that it's all grayed out. Then you will hit this button, which essentially, now you can see there's the 2 bars. And if I hit it again, 1 bar, hit it again, 2 bar, 3 bars. So you can keep tapping through until you reach the type of distance that you want. So generally, I keep 2 cars length behind, just to be a little bit more safe. Now, once I'm happy with the distance, let me go and pick up the speed that I want. That way I can fully show. I'm going to aim for 70 miles per hour and then set it. Let me pick up some speed here. All right. I'm going to set it at there. So then I'll hit the set button. Whoa, okay, that was a little too close. I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, so when the dash turns green, now the car, it's going to be self-driving. And let me explain a little bit of that. So although I set it for 70 miles per hour, there's a sonar in front of the car, including the camera, that reads anything in front of the car. So as the car ahead of me brakes, my car will start decelerating, just like this car that merged in. You can see we're maintaining the same speed. If that car comes to a complete stop, my car will come to a complete stop. It will always be compensating to the to the speed of the car that's ahead of me. And it's going to be compensating to maintain that 2 cars length that we set. So at the moment it is going 62. All right, so that car got out of the way, and as you can see, it's picking speed back up. Now, when I say self-driving, like, see if you can see there, I'm not, I don't have to put my foot on the gas or the brake. So it literally is self-braking, self-accelerating, deaccelerating, and so forth. I'm not doing any steering whatsoever, but leaving my hand resting on the steering wheel. And after some experience with this, it's a good thing that you do. Actually, it is the only way you can do it, because the car is not self-driving 100%. It literally is driving itself. But let me show you. If you take your hand off of the car, it's still self-driving. I don't have my foot on the gas or the pedal. My hand is here, and as you see, it's self-driving. But you'll see, actually I got a little scared there. It takes some use to, because like, what the heck, is this car driving itself? So let me wait for the right timing, just for filming purposes. Okay, the car moved out. It's crazy. It's accelerating, driving itself. Alright, so if I take my hand off of the steering wheel, it will keep self-driving, but the car will start alerting you, hey, put your hands back on the steering wheel, you asshole. So first you get a little warning, then the beep, which is going to start beeping faster and faster. The car, self-driving, self-turning. I'm going to put my hand back on. So what will happen is, if it doesn't have a response, if the steering wheel does not feel your hand, the car will keep beeping, and then it'll slowly come to a complete stop. It's just a safety feature. It's this car, these type of self-driving technologies, almost self-driving technologies, is not completely autonomous. It's not made so that the driver can rely on it. So as we've been talking the entire time, the car has been self-driving itself, turning, braking, accelerating, matching the speed of the car in front of me. It's a little strange at first. Like, this car just pulled in the lane, the car started rapidly braking. It's picking up speed, and the car picks up speed on its own. The only interaction that I'm having is just my hand resting on the steering wheel. It's a little bit strange, because you feel like you're at a tug of war with like a robot. You're wondering, am I really gonna let this car control my life? So you want to kind of steer in a direction, but the steering wheel, it's actually automatically turning. Like here, it's just everything is self-driving. But it feels a little bit creepy and scary at the same time. So after a while of getting used to it, I just learned to give the car some control. At the same time, I have my hand resting. If there's anything that would occur if I'm not comfortable, I quickly just start taking control. Even though the car's steering itself and there is that little robotic feeling, you ultimately have the last say. You just grip the steering wheel and says, hey, you're going in my direction. The moment you step on your brake, which I'm going to do right now. Alright, this truck, it's stopping. The car is automatically stopping to keep the 2 car lengths behind. Alright, so it's going at 40, 41, 42, and we're essentially staying at the same speed. And what the car does with the sonar and the camera, it reads the marker and it keeps you aligned between the markers. All right, now if I press the brake, it shuts off the ProPilot Assist. Now I'm in complete control, and I'm doing my own accelerating, decelerating. The brake is just unforeseen circumstances that the computer cannot read. The moment you want to go back to your ProPilot assisting, you just hit the resume tab. It'll automatically go back on and start driving. I am going to take a turn here. Ooh, this is a little creepy. This is where you want to take control. Even though I set the ProPilot Assist for 70 miles per hour, if you're coming off an exit and you're gently steering in a direction, it's still going to be reading at 70 miles per hour. So it'll try to take that curve at 70 miles per hour. So that's where you step on a brake control, it'll shut off. Once you're back on the road, like now, hit resume. And the car, it's it's a little weird there. Again, it's scary. All right, this is a good example. Like, these markers are essentially faded. I've actually directly from Nissan, a couple of engineers that I saw on their YouTube videos stated that if the markers are not clear, the road markers are not clear, ProPilot Assist is not going to work as intended. And that is true. I've come across that. Another thing, think of this camera like your eye. If it is too bright, too sunny, it's going to affect how it reads the roads. It's just going to be all erratic behavior. It's not even worth it to turn on the ProPilot Assist. Weather conditions. If it rains, it's not going to work. In fact, when it rains, ProPilot Assist it won't turn on. Nighttime, forget about it. Nighttime with the roads well lighted, you're lucky if you can get 10-20 seconds of accurate driving without any interaction of you taking control of the car. So here, I'm comfortable here. I'm on a long stretch of road. Now I am going to hit resume. It's going to remember my setting. It's going to pick up as much speed as it can with the little gap between me and that car. And here, it's turning on its own. No interaction. Of course, I have to put my hands back on. If I don't, okay, hands back on. Is this ProPilot Assist worth it? It depends on who you ask. To me, it feels a little bit gimmicky. Gimmicky in a sense that, you know, is it going to be practical for everyday use? It could be a yes or no, depending on who you are and your driving regimens. So I find that if you're driving on long stretch of roads, highways, maybe you're one of those road trippers, take long distance drives all the time, it'll be a nice feature to have. It'll be a nice feature for a couple of reasons, but one of the security ones is maybe you're the type that tries to push yourself and you're going to fall asleep at the wheel. Okay, like right here. It actually didn't pick up that curve right too well. With my hand on the steering wheel, I was able just to take control. And I had to press the brakes, shut off. So, again, hit the resume. And it's going to resume. Even though it's set at 70 miles per hour, it won't go any faster because the sonar and the camera reading the car ahead of you. So I set it for 2 car distances, those 2 lines right there. The car is coming to a complete stop. my car is automatically coming to a complete stop. As it's picking up speed, my car is picking up speed. Let you see how that plays out. So if you were the type who got distracted, maybe trying to fall asleep at the wheel, maybe the ProPilot Assist can save your life for those 20 seconds that you fall asleep. And the moment your hand gets off that steering wheel, you have that nice loud audible alert that keeps increasing in pace. And if you don't respond to it, the car is just going to come to a complete stop. Maybe on a long stretch of road, if you want to give your leg, your foot, some relaxing time, I guess that's another plus. But if you've been a driver for many decades like me, what happens is you have to get used to your leg not doing anything. Like, although I'm not using my foot for the gas or the brakes, it's just, all right, where do I put it? I leave it on the floor. But it feels a little awkward. You have to get to that feeling that there's a robot in your car, essentially self-navigating. Like here, the entire time I'm talking, the car, it's self-navigating, stopping, accelerating on its own with that little eye. I haven't used, some people claim they could use it for city driving. I've used it for city driving, but it's a waste of time. You try it out yourself is the best way to explain it. You're in city driving with all the stopping, going, decelerating, to even set this thing up. Oh, first of all, you actually have to get up to a minimum of 37 miles per hour. Feels like Back to the Future. 88 miles per hour. 37 miles per hour before you can set the ProPilot Assist. If you're in city driving with mad traffic, there's 37 miles per hour doesn't exist. You're probably going to be going with the flow of traffic, which is 15-20 miles. So I'm going to have to continue this. But yes, this car almost drove me home on its own. Like, okay, right here. See, this is a great example. These cars that rapidly cut in front of you, it's where you would want your hand on the steering wheel. And although I let it go, I just had my foot ready to brake, the car sensors around the car took that car into account, and it started braking on its own. So that's a neat little feature. The other feature is if you get out of the markers, it'll flash and it'll beep. So I'm gonna, all right, traffic is coming to a stop. So I'll show you. The car braking on its own. I'm going to take my hand off the steering wheel for a second. Braking. Okay. Ooh, this is strange. Alright. I hit the brake there. Explain why in a minute. Let me just resume. Hit the brake again. Alright, see, this is where it's a little bit strange. Does it read shadows when you get underneath the bridge? It looked like it was reading it, but at the same time, when there was a little gap, the car started to rapidly accelerate. I couldn't tell you if it's what's going to hit that 70 miles per hour when traffic is going at 30 miles per hour. I just did not let it go. I hit the brake immediately, but it felt like it was just going to let me merge into the parkway. It's like I have more space. Okay, I got more space. All the settings that I put, it'll still be there. But first, let me show you this thing. If you look at the dash LCD, I'm going to see there's traffic behind me. I don't want to get so crazy. Let me do it on the right side. if I try to pass the lane slowly, it'll start beeping, and you can feel the car gently braking and pulling you back in the direction. Now, this is without ProPilot assist on. This is another feature that you can turn on, which I technically have it on right now. So, I'll show you again. If you get out of your lane just a tad, let me just do it on the shoulder a little bit, like right there. It'll beep, and then it'll beep left or right on the flash, just to indicate which lane you're passing. So this is a good feature. If you leave it on without ProPilot assists, maybe you're driving long, you're kind of drowsy, it's a good audible thing just to keep you back on the line. Alright, all the settings that I set, all I have to do whenever I want to just continue, I just hit resume. If you look at the dash, everything went on. My hand is here. I'm going to gently rest it. The car rapidly picks up speed, and that traffic up ahead, that's definitely not 70 miles per hour. Let's see what it does. I'll try to have the last control. Alright, that it's just a little scary to control the brake. But let me hit resume again. Alright. So, yeah, alright, now nice and calm. It's keeping the distance. I can feel the car decelerating, accelerating, braking, going, all on its own. Yeah, that ProPilot Assist, you have to keep an eye on it. Don't rely as it going to be your savior. A lot of things can go wrong. Who knows if a bird takes a shit and lands right on the eye of the windshield, the camera's eye through the windshield, and it'll block it for that 2 seconds. 2 seconds, which could mean life or death. One thing this car, the ProPilot won't do, is exactly what I'm going to do now. Get off on my exit. I'll hit the brake. I'm going to take control. One thing I noticed, if you have roads where they expanded and they put new dashers, new lanes, paint marks, like these are a little bit faded, but you can still see the remains of the old dashers, the old lane marks, that they're overlapping. I've noticed that sometimes the camera won't read them directly, like if it gets confused, so the car it'll go a little bit crazy. Not crazy like it was going to crash, but it'll try to take you into both lanes, which doesn't even exist. So yeah, it gets confused. So that's where you take control. It's not going to self-navigate coming off of an exit. It's going to stay at that same speed. Now, if it notices you're going to collide with that curb, the car will try to come to a complete stop. Nonetheless, it's a little bit scary. The other thing too that I noticed, it hasn't happened a lot, but the first couple of times I experimented with it, sometimes it may do some hard braking, especially if you put it one car's length behind the car in front of you. It may do some hard braking. So the hard braking, for you it's one thing, but it may piss off the driver behind you who's going at a nice smooth 50 miles per hour, and here you are just hard braking because your car's computer is trying to read the car in front of you. Is the ProPilot Assist worth it? Again, it depends. I've been tinkering with it not because of need, but just to exploit it, see its limitations of what it can and cannot do. And this thing is also